You know, one of my favorite philosophers, Lily Tomlin, said, no matter how cynical you get, I just can't keep up. And it's very easy to look back on the year that has just passed, and of course we've had some terrible tragedies already this year, with the notion of bad things happen. And there are an awful lot of people who are letting us down from an ethical perspective. And of course, as an ethicist, I often talk about these things and will continue to. But one of my resolutions for this year is to be a little more positive, to be positive about not only looking for the good stories, but emphasizing the good parts of even bad stories. I mean, even in this terrible Tucson tragedy and the killing of the Congresswoman, there were people who acted bravely, there are people who acted quickly, there are people who responded properly. In fact, the whole nation is responding with the kind of compassion that we often do when we see this kind of tragedy. You think back on last year and you could be negative again and still worry about the bad parts of Michael Vick, or let's talk about the fact that he's tried to rehabilitate himself. Some people won't ever forgive him for what he did, but he made a real major turnaround in terms of what he talked about, what he did, and how he performed. And we ought to be able to celebrate that without necessarily forgiving or forgetting what went on in the past. Or if we're worried about golfers, we could talk about Tiger Woods and continue that story of great disappointment. Or how about the fella named Davis? I forget his first name, honestly. I think it's well, anyway, the Australian golfer who it called a stroke on himself and it cost him $400,000. My point is the Chilean miners situation. That was a terrible tragedy, and we could focus on all the situations of why that occurred, or how the nation, not only certainly Chile, but our nation, was compassionately concerned with the way that these miners ultimately handled themselves, and finally, thank God, that they were saved. My point is the quality of our lives is determined by what we think about and what we preoccupy ourselves with. It's an old cliche about the glass being half empty or half full, but here's a simple reality. The people who choose, and it's often a choice, to talk about and think about the half full part of the glass are always much happier than the people who choose to think about and only talk about the half empty part of the glass. Let's not be naive. Let's not lose the opportunity to see where we can get better. But on the other hand, let's celebrate those things that are really working in our lives and in society, and make a choice to be happier and more grateful for all the good things that really do happen. Thanks.